All right, we need to have a serious discussion. And this is about the gaming industry, of course. And this is about the rise in prices of AAA video games. So, back when the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 generation started, back in November 2020, it became a thing that games were not going to be $60 anymore. And that they were, for certain developers, not all, they were going to be charging $69.99. And, the price of video games haven't increased in probably about 15 years. So it's not at all a surprise that the prices, in the industry were going to raise because the demand is there for the video games and people are buying the games like crazy. So normally, from a business perspective, you can raise prices because you expect people to pay it. There's also a pretty big argument for the rise in prices, which doesn't really make sense that much to me, and it's that the price of video games have not increased with inflation. And while this is true, I mean, inflation is pretty crazy right now to begin with in the US, but it doesn't take into account the ways that developers monetize their games in other ways. Most notably, microtransactions. There's a ton of games that have storefronts where they'll sell all sorts of things, normally for prices that are obscene, and the examples there are Valorant and Halo Infinite at the moment. It also doesn't take into account that a lot of games are free to play and they make their money solely based off of microtransactions and people paying them after they've already been playing the game. Now, what some developers are doing, they are not only raising the prices of their games, but they're also putting predatory microtransaction systems in said games. So I personally think that we either need to raise the prices and take out the, terrible microtransactions, or we need to lower the prices for the games that are going to have microtransactions and just rely on those microtransactions more. It can't be both. You can't raise the price of your game and then also monetize it in all these other ways afterwards, because it's just predatory after a certain point. And I mean, the reason it's so bad is that when you look at the most profitable entertainment industries in the world, gaming far and away is the most profitable one. I'm gonna post some links in the description of sources I'm using for this, and I'll maybe post some stuff on the screen, to my right. But one stat that I saw from 2019, this was before video game prices raised at all. The video game industry made $145.7 billion collectively, with 45% of that coming from mobile, 32% coming from console, and 23% coming from PC. So 145.7 billion. The next closest industry in entertainment is movies, the box office, and it is over $100 billion less profitable. So it goes all the way down to 42.5 billion. And then the music industry rounds it out at 20.2 billion. And this is taken from statista.com, and they reference sources there as well. What makes it even worse is when you look at the average time to make a film. The average time it costs to make a film is about 4 to 5 years. That's including pre-production, post-production, filming, everything. And you look at the average time it takes to make a AAA game, and while it is increasing for certain developers, I mean, look at Cyberpunk, that took forever and it still was a train wreck. Although it wasn't, I don't know, there were some parts of it I liked. Normally it would take about 3 to 5 years to make a AAA game. So we're looking at very similar windows of products to be made. We're looking at one industry that makes $100 billion less. Now you may say, well, what about mobile games? You said 45% of the revenue is mobile games. Yeah, well, 55% of the revenue of that 145.7 billion was PC and console. So 55% of 145.7 is over $70 billion. So it's almost double the movie industry as well. So what makes the changes really bad is the people pushing these changes. The companies that I know that have raised their prices to $70 are Take-Two and EA, don't exactly have the best track record, Activision, and we all know what's going on over there, and Gearbox. None of these companies exactly have glowing reputations. They've made good games, but there's a lot of baggage that goes with those. So why are we allowing those people to push the industry in this direction when they've already got Take-Two's got Grand Theft Auto, and there's rumors that they're gonna, like, when they re-release GTA 5 for PS5 and Xbox Series X, that they're gonna release it at $70. This is a game that came out in 2013 on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. And I understand that they're doing work to like remaster it or whatever, or just upgrade it to PlayStation 5 and Series X, but like, come on, man. Like, $70 for a 10-year-old game with that already makes a ton off of microtransactions for GTA Online. It's like, where does it stop? It has to stop somewhere. And it's going way too far. And you may be like, well, they've supported the game for so long and they've done all these things. GTA 5 is the highest grossing like entertainment product of all time. The source I'm using for that is from 2018, but I can't imagine that's changed. I do like want to take time to point out that some companies like Microsoft are not raising prices, like at least at this time. And I appreciate that they're not doing that. And I appreciate things like Game Pass to make it more plausible and affordable to like get, games into people's hands. I mean, they're not without their faults. I mean, if you look at Halo Infinite storefront, they're charging like $20 per gun charm in that thing. So I'm not saying Microsoft is not guilty here at all because they've got plenty of issues. But at least they haven't, I mean, at least like to some degree, they're not constantly trying to screw us over. And I also understand why Sony is doing the increase in prices because a lot of their games are more single player focused and like the production does take quite a bit and it's pretty extensive. And normally it doesn't seem like they have as many predatory pricing models in their game. Like you can get a full experience for the $60 to $70 you spend. But when you look at a game like God of War 2018, this was a game that shipped at $60. Per Eurogamer, it cost $44 million to make. So it's not like a cheap game to make. I totally get that. And I don't think that's including necessarily like paying your staff and stuff, so that may not show the whole picture. But God of War 2018 is estimated to have grossed $500 million in revenue. Like, I mean, they're making plenty of money off of it being $60. Like that, I mean, at what point is it just seems like corporate greed. That's what I think. That's what I think a lot of people think. And I mean, outside of Nintendo games, I don't really buy games at full price anymore because I know I can get, if I wait another year, I could probably get like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for like $30, so I'm not going to spend $70 on Ratchet and Clank. So I don't know. I mean, there's probably aspects to this argument that I'm missing. I think that I'm trying to lay out a pretty fair assessment. I know that like the console market's trying to compete with the mobile game market, and unfortunately, they've seemed to have adopted a lot of their strategies and policies because they are incredibly effective because that section of the entertainment industry has blown up and reaches gamers that like would never play on console or PC. But it's like it's gotta stop. It's gotta stop at some point. Like it's going too far is how I feel. And so you can't have the increased prices and the predatory microtransactions. It's got to be one or the other. I'd be happy to pay more for a game if like the product we got was more reliable. There's plenty of games that you could pay $60 for and then it had a bad development cycle and the marketing was misleading like Cyberpunk, and then we don't offer refunds on our storefront, which I think most of them do. But like, let me know your thoughts. I hope that the industry can take a step in the right direction when it comes with this stuff, and maybe companies like Nintendo, I doubt it, but or Microsoft will be able to lead the charge there. I would just say speak with your wallets because I think more of this stuff is coming. I guess we'll see. All right, thanks for watching. Peace.